12 News Eye on Agriculture with Britton Rucker.
Over 10% of the crop is grown in people's yards.
As people travel this holiday season, one farm is making sure their product is on the shelf and how it's starting to make a resurgence. Plus, a Kansas farmer and his son's act of heroism stops what could have been a deadly crash. Their incredible story coming up. Good evening and welcome into Eye on Agriculture. I'm Britton Rucker and happy New Year's Eve. We start tonight with a report of missing cattle in Osborne County. The Kansas Livestock Association says the 15 head of Angus cattle were stolen from a pasture located 6 miles south of Osborne on Highway 281. Those missing include 1 bull, 4 bred heifers, and 10 3-year-old cows. The cattle were found to be missing on December 13th. All the cattle except for 2 bred heifers are branded with KR on their left hip. The bull also has an 881 freeze brand. KLA is offering up to $5,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the thieves. The award program only applies when the producer is a KLA member. Anyone with information on these cattle should contact these numbers you see on your screen. A new survey from the Minneapolis Fed found labor availability as a top concern for their farm clients. The survey found the availability of livestock workers was seen as more limited than crop workers. And those surveyed also shared that finding long-term help is more difficult than temporary help due to the seasonal nature of the ag industry. The Minneapolis Fed attributes this challenge to the region's low influx of migrant workers and aging workforce. A Central Kansas teacher has died last week, just days after she was in a car crash in McPherson County. The crash killed teacher Ashley Austin. The McPherson County Sheriff's Office says the car crossed the center line and hit Ashley's SUV while she was driving to work at Canton Galva High School. Ashley started the Canton Galva FFA program, which impacted the entire community. Her coworkers, including fellow teacher Tina McManus, says she led by example.
The servant leadership that she tried to teach these kids is something she embodied every day. I saw her take kids that really didn't have any agricultural background at all and show them how agriculture can affect everyone.
Tina says Ashley has impacted FFA programs across the state of Kansas, not just in McPherson County. As we ring in the new year, many people travel near and far to be with family and friends on this holiday. And one particular stop on the holiday road is starting to make a resurgence. As Ag Day's Clinton Griffiths reports, a roadside icon is cooking up a comeback with the help of farmers.
Dashing through the snow in a front-wheel drive sleigh.
Hey kids, look, a deer!
There's nothing more seasonal than a holiday road trip. And at one time, Stuckey's was a likely stop.
At our peak, we had 368 stores in 40 states.
The roadside oasis is woven into the fabric of highway history.
Stuckey's really is synonymous with the road trip during what I consider the era of the Great American Road Trip, which would have been the 1950s to the 1970s. When Americans wouldn't travel by plane, they would load up in the car, usually in a family station wagon, and they drive for 5 days.
It was founded during the Great Depression by pecan farmer W.S. Stuckey as a roadside pecan stand.
He always considered himself first and foremost a pecan farmer and a pecan broker.
Today, his granddaughter is leading a resurgence of that business, not as a highway stop, but as a pecan company with roots on Georgia farms.
I want us to be, this is our big, audacious goal, the go-to pecan snack brand in the world.
Helping her on the journey, a third-generation pecan farmer.
As a Georgia pecan grower, I may be a little bit biased, I don't know, but I mean, I genuinely believe we grow the best pecans in the world in the state of Georgia.
He credits ample rainfall and higher oil content with resulting in larger sized nuts, perfect for creating candy treats at Christmas. Today, on an in-shell basis, they handle about 2 million pounds of Georgia pecans a year in a state that grows 100 million pounds.
In the state of Georgia, which grows more pecans than any state in the country, over 10% of the crop is grown in people's yards.
Soon, they'll be using even more as the business continues to expand.
Why is it that when you go into the grocery store and you walk down the salty snack aisle and you get to the nuts, you can find every other nut sitting in that section, but you don't see pecans there very often?
A question this farmer and farmer's granddaughter are aiming to answer.
Of the original 368 stores, only 12 left. But I saw what wasn't on the balance sheets, and that's the value of the brand.
A brand dumping, churning, dipping, and packaging pecans, log rolls and clusters, just the way the founder, W.S. Stuckey, did when he started.
I would like to think if he were alive today, he would be really happy that we're making our comeback the way we began, as a pecan company.
Now some quick thinking from a farmer and his son saved lives on I-70. The farmer tells us about being in the right place at the right time, just ahead on Eye on Agriculture.